Welcome to the second text, or discussion of the second text in the second chapter of Pirkei Avot. We have seen, as I mentioned yesterday, throughout the first chapter of Pirkei Avot, there had been a transmission from pairs to pairs to pairs. And it basically took a break when we got finally to the final pair of Hillel and Shammai, and then it diverted to Rabban Gamaliel, then to his son Shimon ben Gamaliel, and then we saw kicking off the very first Mishnah, or the very first teaching of the second chapter of his son, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Judah the Prince. We also saw a trend of tripartite statements. Three-part statements were the common way of expressing advice or wisdom throughout the first chapter. The second chapter is already breaking with these things that we have seen. We come across this second text. Rabban Gamaliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, says. So this is Rabban Gamaliel, Rabbi Judah the Prince's son. One thing that I think people talk about with the Mishnah is that it was published by Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Judah the Prince. It's unclear whether Avot, this Pirkei Avot that we are discussing, whether he had a hand in its publishing or editing or arranging. It's unclear. It's not stated specifically who published Pirkei Avot. It'd be interesting if it was in fact Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Judah the Prince, because his son is quoted right here in the second text in the second chapter, with himself, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Judah the Prince, being quoted at the very outset of the second chapter. Not clear who really published it, but perhaps someone associated with the family, perhaps even a grandson of Rabbi Judah the Prince. It's unclear, and I'm not going to go further delve into it. What we are further going to delve into it is the statement here of Rabban Gamaliel, the son of Rabbi Judah the Prince. So he has a four-part statement. We saw throughout the first chapter a lot of three-part statements. We're going to see a four-part statement here. He says, wonderful, lovely is the study of Torah along with derech eretz, worldly occupation, the way of the world, meaning be involved with society, be involved with what's going on in the world, and with Talmud Torah. One without the other, not so good. Together, he says, they're wonderful, they're lovely. And he gives a reason. He says, for toil of both of them keeps sin out of one's mind. You're so involved, heavily involved with both the ways of the world and with studying Torah, that sin stays far away. The second one, all Torah that does not have study or does not have a worldly occupation, does not have work with it, it will come to be neglected and becomes the cause of sin. So basically, he starts out saying together, derech eretz, the way of the world with studying Torah is wonderful. Now what happens if you're only doing Torah study with no work? That's not good, and you're just going to come into sin. The third statement, all who labor should be with the community. All who labor with the community should be working with the community for the sake of heaven, for heaven's name. And he gives a reason. For the merit of their forefathers sustains them or helps them, and their righteousness stands forever. So working on behalf of it sounds like working with the community, working on behalf of the community should be done for the sake of heaven. Why? It's interesting the reason he proffers here. Why? Because they're assisted through the merit of their forefathers, and the merit of the forefathers stands forever, and therefore it helps you in your labors on behalf of the community. Really fascinating reasoning proffered there. And now that was the third. Now we get to the fourth one, which is, and you, I credit you with a rich reward, or a plentiful reward, as if you had accomplished it. So, and I'm bringing upon you plenty reward as if you have done it. Okay, I think that might be part of the previous reason. It's a little unclear there. I think for me, what ultimately emerges out of this is it's one thing to just study Torah. That's lovely, but without actual toil, without work, without being involved in the world, you could just stay up in abstract land and easily get fall into sin. Instead, he offers, do it with the way of the world. You should be involved in society. You should be involved with actually working. These things coupled together are great. So I think that for me is the key takeaway from here from Rabban Gamaliel, the son of Judah the Prince. Thank you so much for watching.